Computer.
All right, we're live now. All right, guys, we're live. Let's see. Does everyone see everyone? Oh, there we go. We're looking good. Hey, Dave, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, good to see you guys.
Hey, live chat, can you hear everybody? Oh, wow, look at that. It's blowing up. AJ and Vlad and Captain somebody. Eric just joined us. Hi, Eric. Yeah, turn that off. Ask them if they can hear us in the chat. Can you hear everything okay? AJ, can you give me a thumbs up?
Can you hear us?
Yep. Okay, good.
Can you guys hear me?
AJ, can you hear Dave? Go ahead, Dave. Say hi.
Hey, everybody.
Dave is faint.
Yeah, that's why I said you were a little light. I didn't know if you had maybe a volume button on your computer, maybe.
Let me try it. Any difference there?
It's about the same. I got you.
Let me try my regular speaker and see if that helps.
All right. I got you turned up as loud as I can on my end.
Okay, 1 minute, okay.
Very faint.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
All right. So, Mage's Musings just joins us. Dave needs a proper mic, says the Mage.
Yeah, you might want to put your headphones back in, Dave. It sounded a little better to me, but initially.
All right.
How's it going? How's it working now?
Yeah, didn't get better, did it?
Yeah, it's about the same, but I think they can hear you. I think it'll be good.
All right, well, we'll do our best.
Wish it was a little louder, but we'll get through it. All right, Dave. So I got a long list of questions. Phil's got a long list of questions. I think we'll probably get a whole bunch out of the chat before it's all over. So hopefully everyone will be able to hear you, and you can give us a little information about where you guys want to take this game. So let me just start with this one. What makes you think you can bring Overpower back, and why do you think you can do it now?
That's a great question. So, I mean, first off is that there's never been a lack of enthusiasm around the game. It's actually quite remarkable that a game that's been largely out of the pit for 2 decades has as dedicated as a fan base.
No doubt.
Both collectors and players and just enthusiasts. People who might not even be playing or collecting right now, but we're seeing a lot of interest in the live streams, a lot of interest in your product, the Overpower Adventures,
Yeah.
a lot of interest in the new cards that we're putting out, where we know there's a lot of enthusiasm. Now, also, there's a big market, a void in the marketplace, if you will, because there's not really a collectible card game or any kind of card game, I think, that fills the void of superhero fantasy in combat and cooperation the way that Overpower did. I think Overpower was very unique in being a game that gave you the feel of what it feels like to be a superhero or a magical character that's trying to complete a set of tasks or a mission, and where you can have heroic sacrifice and a lot of interesting victory conditions that make you feel like you are Superman, or you are Scarlet Witch, or you are the Word, or you are any character. And so I think there's an opportunity in the marketplace. The original brand had a lot of goodwill. It was never not profitable. It was with Marvel / Fleer, and really it was just bad luck and happenstance that Marvel went through that bankruptcy, and they felt like they could make a shorter run cash grab to move on to the X-Men card game. So why? I think we're very patient. We're very passionate. The community is remarkably supportive and passionate. And then there's a lot of fans that have been brought in through the film success of the MCU and the DCU, and there's been so many movies, so much good printed material. There's just a lot to enjoy right now if you're a superhero enthusiast, if you like, even if I love anime, And I would love for us to get into a space where you could bring some anime stuff in there where I get to see Goku versus Superman, or all those kind of arguments that we love to have as teens and youths. So I think that the time is right. The economies of scales have changed in terms of what you can do digitally, in terms of graphic design and printing. The time to market can be faster, but also again we're just been, I think, more patient than the people before us who've tried to make efforts to bring the game back, and that's resulted in the trademark success. And I hope I'm confident actually that it will be successful for us in terms of the big swing, in terms of getting an IP.
Excellent. There's a lot there. They had a hard time hearing you, and I just got the sound fixed. It was on my end. And Joe wants you to start over. Not he does, but let's not. I think just do a quick recap. Man, I would love to see Dragon Ball into this game. I think that'd be fun. You might have a hard time because Dragon Ball already has such a big following right now. But I love the thoughts of bringing an anime because they're so overpowered at times that they're fun.
Right.
What's so great about Dragon Ball? Oh, I lost. I'm going to go train for 6 months. I'll come back and beat you. Yeah, so I think it could definitely bring a lot of fun things into the game. But right now, what's your number one goal as far as which property you'd like to start with? Can you tell us that?
Well, I think we're interested in all of them. And I know that's like not a great answer to start with, but we've been in conversations and negotiations with all the major players. And we're also interested in expanding the universe beyond the major players as well. I mean, I think when you look at the Overpower universe, the game mechanic itself, our fan base, and what the game does very accurately, I think any world where you think of superpowered characters who have energy, strength or brute force, combat skills, fighting, and intelligence, and they're trying to work together and against villains or heroes, any of those properties could work well. And we've seen in our some of our posts kind of announcing, obviously, that we're driving this enthusiasm for all kinds of characters. People suggest go to the public domain. Some are obviously just, I want Marvel again, I want DC again. Some people are big Image fans. Like Invincible is an incredible product. The Boys on Amazon has been an incredible adult superhero show. Obviously, we see a ton of success of, Japanese animation and other like animated products. And as a kid of the 80s, I mean, I love like Thundercats, Silverhawks, like all that kind of stuff, Transformers, like so much fantasy stuff where like if it fits that world, energy, brute force, combat, intellect, working together or against, and that what ifs, like what if Goku hit Superman? What would Lion-O do against, Optimus Prime? Like your imagination can run wild. So we're excited about those. Like obviously we would love to take, we would take a heartbeat Marvel or DC or any of these, of course. Yeah. But I think the broader answer is there's a lot of really good IPs that work with the Overpower universe, the mechanic, our passionate fan base, and really like people like us who are kids, but now who are adults, who have disposable income and time. We love this stuff. Like we're driving what's pop culture now, and we have a thirst for this content. And there's not a game anymore. Versus is gone largely. There's not really a game that does what Overpower does, or even any adjacent game. So that's a long answer, but Marvel and DC obviously. But we've been in conversation with all the major holders and more. And it's just finding the right fit.
Yeah. Are you guys looking at worldwide distribution right from the start, or are we going to stay in North America for now?
So we have trademark in almost all the major international markets. So that's certainly the goal, or else we wouldn't have done that. Our current tournament, the NAOL, is all North America clearly, but the original game was in Japan and other countries as well. So international distribution, definitely. But it all depends on the IP we launch. There's different plans for how you scale it. So I mean, I think you want to serve your loyal fan base, first and primarily. If I had to give you a vision for the game, I have a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I would love to share the game with them. I actually ran the 9-year-old through his first Overpower game about 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
And like it was how you would think it would go. He got it, but I'm helping him drive it. But he loved the cards. He loves to ask questions. So I really think, oh my gosh, I turned my phone down. I'm sorry, y'all.
Going on your end there.
Yep, I'm turning it off. Phone off. So the long story short is, whatever IP that we could get that's the biggest is obviously the priority. And international distribution is in the plans, and we have the trademark in all the major markets. So that is the goal.
Yeah, it's really cool to see all of the response. We're getting new guys finding our channel literally every day.
Yes.
And somebody's in the group chat here who just said that he found us yesterday. Just found
That's
each other
awesome.
maybe last week. There's the group, the live chat's blowing up. I can't read it all. Sorry, guys. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Somebody wants to do wants one of your properties to be Conan. That would be awesome.
Oh my goodness. Let me say, I'm pretty sure Conan, the general character, is in public domain. So I mean, like, that is something I would love to do. Growing up now, I grew up on, I forget who did the Conan animated cartoon, and we'd have to license that if it was that portrayal.
Sure.
But just Conan is like huge fan base, ton of fun. Muscle, sword. I'd imagine he'd be like an 8 combat character with 6 strength, maybe 7 strength. We'll all debate that. Maybe he has a big 10. Maybe he's got a pin. You can just instantly, all those things that like sound and smell and feel like Overpower, I get super excited about.
Yeah, I would love to see Conan for sure. And I saw one of your Facebook posts had over 600 likes on it, 676, I believe, when I saw it earlier this
Yes.
week. And people are still doing searches for Overpower, and
That is
it's awesome. So there is still a lot going on with the game. People are still collecting the cards. People are asking us, how do you play the game?
Yes.
So it is fun to see everything that's going on, and they just keep coming. It's somebody was in the store this week and said they mentioned one of the characters that you did. I lost him already. The Image character who's got the show on Invincible.
Yes.
He would love to see Invincible. It's like, oh wow, I never even thought about an Invincible.
Oh, that whole universe. I mean, first off, anyone who hasn't
there
streamed
are tons of
Invincible,
characters out there. Yeah.
so much fun.
So when you launch, you're gonna have organized play right from the beginning. Is that the goal?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because of course. I mean, I think the idea would be, if you look at the success of a game like Magic the Gathering, where you have Friday Night Magic at local stores, we would want to have, now not directly competing with Magic, and we have a lot of Overpower players who are also Magic players, but if we had Saturday Night Overpower, where you could go to Heroes and Games, you sit down, there's 10 to 20 other players, there's maybe a judge or a teacher there, we want to have a draftable format. So we've talked about this before, but the format of the old game was a very traditional rarity chase with packs that, unfortunately, while they had great artwork, you would get a lot of unuseful cards or things that didn't pair. I get a pack, I get a 6+1 basic, random training, here's a weird power card, here's one special for Scarlet Witch, and here's a blob. And it's fun because you see the artwork as a kid, like, oh, but how do you play with it? You got to buy a lot more. And you definitely couldn't do a draftable format.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, we already have a distribution in terms of a pack distribution model that would make it draftable. Have, Saturday night play in your local stores that could be how you, learn, and also how you work to qualify to like larger tournaments and regionals, and then have like a pro tour where maybe the pro tour is like, the prize supported larger versions of the 5 to 6 tournaments that we have now. And maybe you add Vegas as, the big championship or whatever venue that we would choose. So definitely competitive play. I would say we are focused on competition, but I'm really focused, and my passion about is teaching new players and making the game as accessible to the returning players who used to play, people who might have loved Marvel before but never played, or they collected, and then accessible to like kids and adults ages, like 8 to 80. Like anyone can sit down and they understand what the game is. And so we're working to streamline the rules. You saw the tournament guide. We're working to clarify tournament play. And upon launch, certainly prize supported and ideally cash and prize ported, a big game type hunting, competition, along with your casual Friday night, Saturday night store play where you can win a pack or you can win a promo or you can get points that can be used for entry or those kind of models where people like play to earn and have fun.
Okay, so when you launch, what's that going to look like for the old cards? The cards that we're playing with right now, are you looking at retirement on those? We're going to keep them all grandfathered in?
So there's going to be multiple play modes, I think similar to Magic the Gathering. So, we don't want to recreate the wheel here. Certainly, or if anybody's ever been to like Gen Con and some of the like tournament play, like I was a huge Axis and Allies fan. Anyone who doesn't know Axis and Allies, it's a board game. It's World War II themed, like Risk adjacent board game. And there was Revised Edition 2 was the big one that I grew up on. But most modern players play like Revised 3, and I don't really love it. But at Gen Con, there's a big Revised 2 tournament. There's a Revised 3. There's like Axis and Allies Europe tournament. So along those lines, I see there being legacy tournaments that are just the old cards. And then a combined Golden Age environment that's all the old cards from Marvel, basically Marvel Fleer. Because there's like Marvel Fleer and there's Disney Marvel.
Right.
Because, you had Marvel before the bankruptcy and after. So Disney colloquialisms internally to us, I like to refer to it as Fleer Marvel and Disney Marvel. So all the kind of Fleer Marvel cards that were both, Marvel, DC, and Image would all be in the legacy play, also in the combined Golden Age environment. And then we'll also have like a new modern environment that would just be the new cards. And along those lines, we're also batting around this past weekend at one of our meetings. We want to have like a kids format that's more battles. We saw in that Facebook thread, there's a lot of enthusiasm for just like how you can play Smash and not have to really bet. And also that could be a good format to teach kids or new players. Right. We batted around the idea of there being 5 missions in the center of the table. And anytime you win a battle by the person leaving because they're going to die, you just win 1 mission and it's best of 5 or first to 3, if you will. Right. And that will just allow you don't have to think about betting. You're not ever giving cards. You just place, fight till someone relents, and then you get your first mission, and it's first to 3. So that could be like a fun format that's not like as poker adjacent as the original game is. It could be like a good teaching people and or just kids play battles. So we want to have multiple formats, and there'll probably be more formats than that as well. We've batted around some ideas about modifying the mission amounts. So you could have it where you can have a fast play where it's betting, but there's only 5 missions. So it's like quick and dirty. Or you could have it where there's 9 missions, which is like a long form master. So there's a lot of room in the game for people like the Smash aspect, people like the betting and the placing aspect. And so we want to have a space where whatever kind of way you want to play, like you can find your people that want to play that way. Whether that's with the old original cards that we'll support and love because that's the original granddaddy of it, and whether it's the new cards and combining them or just the new cards.
Nice. Now, have you looked at an online client for online play?
So we haven't looked at. So right now, our focus is on investing into a lot of online tools to support live play. So if anybody hasn't seen it, we have a Discord that's a good way to connect with the community. It's where you can first see the streams, and it's also where you can like talk about deck building. We're coding some different tools to replace some capabilities that unfortunately have not been maintained really in like the transition period of the last few years. You used to have the metacode lookup tools and some of those things that all aren't accurate in all the locations you used to be able to find them. So we have some coders working on coding those tools. So that's like our first focus is supporting the live play community with the tools around deck building. We have a number of draft guides. We're going to have like a video, like flash video / recorded video how to. Here's how you venture. Here's you did this. And that goes along with the guides. And then certainly like online play with an app where you can have like potentially collectible digital cards is like a long-term dream we'd love to aspire to. But like at the moment. Or do we have coders working on that? Like, no, but we have added to staff in the last year. We've added a team president who's brought products to the marketplace successfully, and he's the one guiding a lot of our increased social media presence and finding all the kind of old players from the community that might have not known we're out there. We also have coders who are working on, again, the website, the Discord. We have an AI chatbot that's in like draft. The rules are so complicated, it's not there yet. So if you go in and you test it, it's not going to be where it is, but that's because it's in beta. But we're working on those kind of tools to where people who want to play can know like how to play, where to play, how do I make a deck, what strategy, and then certainly like online play, be whether it's an online app like Magic has one, people play lots of games there, and you can play to earn, or also like a phone app where you can go do your cards. That is definitely something that we're interested in.
Sounds great. Phil, I'm going to let you take over and ask you questions now. I'm going to, hey Marcel, how you doing, buddy? Go into the chat and I'll kind of read some chats and come up with some more questions for you. First, let me say hi to everybody in the chat. Man, you guys are blowing it up. There's Brett, Vlad, AJ, the captain,
Ricky, I saw.
Ricky. There's the mage. That's Sean. Howard's
Hey.
in there. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. There's Ron. I saw Joe earlier. Is he still in? Say hi, Joe. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And
So many people, I'm going to give the pageant wave.
Okay. Hey, Dave, these are a few questions from our friends to the north.
Sounds good.
Once you kind of secure your first IP, how are you going to play test the cards?
So it's interesting. I think part of that depends on, what is the first IP? And that's obviously all being negotiated and pending. Why do I say that? Because the environment's very interesting. You have IP holders. You can imagine the big ones oftentimes want to be more hands-on. And so certainly if we get to work with one of them and they say they want to test it the way they want to test it, but we're helping them, obviously do the game creation, we're going to be flexible with whatever, the arrangement is negotiated. So that's the first complicated corporate answer. But the real answer is certainly we want to use the community to test mechanics. And we want to have a program where, some of the best players and, loyal community members have an opportunity to look at things first and to give us feedback. We want to test, these mechanics. You've seen that we want to be progressive about the game, meaning like the game has to be the spirit of the game, the 4 skill types, power cards, special cards, teamwork. You need the bread and butter. What you see with what we've tried to do with the essentials pack and with some of the other things is to try to stay within that spirit, but to innovate. And then, we've tried to, bat these ideas around internally, give it to trusted agents, and then make sure it's not, anything broken and nothing that's useless before we print it and then we get it out there. Now, I will say also with new cards, like it takes time for new ideas to percolate. So like, I love the fact that we saw Keffer dominate the Canadian field. And I was there and I lost to him as well, using the Dracula's Armory, which is one that I think people thought, I don't know about basics. And then he goes like, 5-2, 2-5, 5-2, cutting through the field. I think he lost once. So it does take time sometimes for new ideas to like be vetted and figure out how do I leverage the idea. But the answer is definitely using the community to test within whatever parameters are set for us by the people that we're going to work with, right? And whatever makes sense. And, certainly if a big IP holder is like, hey, this is how we want you to test, or this is what we're willing to let you put out early, then we're going to comply with that. But the community is great, and you have so much good perspective that, you want to draw on that, certainly.
Makes sense, yeah. Doug kind of mentioned this earlier. You're not really going to try to start with an online game, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I think there's a couple different things there, which is that I think coming out of the pandemic, going back to question one, like why now and why do we think we can do it? You can see after the pandemic, there's been a resurgence. I'm sure you guys feel it at Heroes and Games,
Yep.
of people interested in live play. Like we were all cooped in. It's a pandemic. We all might have different opinions about what should or should have been done, but like we all didn't get to see each other for a long time, both in the Overpower community and in like the board game, gaming store type, those communities. And everybody just wants to get back out there and socialize. So our first priority is always going to be the live play. And I think the market is ripe for that. And apps are obviously like, you see the commercials. There's apps for everything. You know, there's like all the games that are just like shoot little minions and do things. And these things are making money. So, our focus though is on like the spirit of the original game, and not that that won't translate to an app because we want to do that, but it's definitely like live play first because I think there's a hole in the marketplace for that, and that's a ripe opportunity. And the original game had that feel, and that's a lot of fun. But obviously, like apps, you can have a lot of like freemium type play where you can have people get in for free, but then there's ways to monetize that and ways you can sustain that as well. But like our first thing is to one, get this done, bring the game fully back, and support, live play because like we're a family and a community, and there's some things there that I think that Overpower has to offer that we're doing better than the big dogs. Like Magic the Gathering's at a point where there's a lot of like internal animus about like how they've done their business. And a lot of people moved over to Flesh and Blood because of that. Pokemon obviously does very well, I think, with their kids in the community, but like there's limitations there. So I think we have, what you saw with the tournament guide in general terms, that we have a focus on like the play community that's going to be centered on everything that we do. We want to provide the best live experience possible playing a fantasy superhero based card game. And then what comes of that will be eventually an app and those other things.
Let me take the next question here real quick. Dave, why do you hate negates?
Look, let me say this. I do not hate negates.
Okay.
If you see my teammate Avoid deck, it's got Serpent Society in it. Negates are great. What I do believe, though, strategically is one challenge we do have. We have a very tightly knit tournament play community. We probably have 150 players at large with tournaments that get you anywhere from 18 to 30 some people, right? If we had a larger group to play with, and that's what we're going to get when we relaunch, you can just explore more ideas. It takes, ideally more like, instead of hundreds of players, thousands of players for someone to realize that you can break like a Captain America. Someone does a combo and you're like, wait, you can break Captain America? And oh, this guy figured it out. So my point of that is, I think with negates, I think people look at that as a prerequisite for competitive play. And I think I've proven over my tournament career that I've gone without it.
Sean,
I've gone without a negate.
In the live chat just says, show us on the battle site where the negate hurts you.
Man, more often than I want to admit. But no, I mean, I played the Mole Man deck at Valhalla.
Right.
That had a negate.
Yeah.
What did I play? I played, I did not play a negate at OP Cup. I guess I've only played one negate so far this year. And I think for Boston, it's probably going to be Serpent Society. But I got some other stuff up my sleeve. We'll see what I'm feeling. Like, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at that field. I'm going to look at when I get in that room, and I'll figure it out.
Dave, how do you plan to deal with the fan base cards? I know some people like them, some people totally opposed to them.
Opposed to what? I'm sorry?
Fan base cards.
Oh, so I mean, I love the idea of like cards that like can immortalize someone who won a tournament or do certain things. I think it's all about making sure that you do those things and it feels the most true to the game. I really love what the NAOL did, and I think they had some assistance from our president of BMG in the Hall of Champions for the NAOL. And you get that really cool stylized, like superhero-y art of like, here's Kefir, and Kefir's got these big muscles, and here's like super big jaw, Superman looking Phil the Strangle Miller. Like, I think there's ways to take like fan cards or things that contribute, that pay tribute to successful players and loyal community members, would that also still feels like in the space of superhero fantasy, like art stuff. So, I think we're open to those things and we're like working on those actively. I think you saw with the Hall of Champions, like kind of that kind of energy of where I'd like to take that. Or as I say, I'm representative of the us. And the us as BMG hope that we're properly representing the community's interests. But I think, we're definitely open to that. Like, if you look at the original Team Overpower card, like kind of cool that they got immortalized in that way, those E players and community members. but I would love for that to be like more stylized in a way that was like superhero-y. And that's kind of where, like, if you look at the effort from, the old management, Lear Marvel again, I'm like,
So is
I
your
think
question
both
more
the,
about the Marvels and Masters of Evil?
Yeah, or
oh,
just
sorry.
just the proxy
Proxies?
cards that were made.
Oh, proxies. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's reset.
Yeah,
So I gave an answer to a question that was not
that's all
asked.
right.
Reset. Um, a lot of that's real simple. And just being honest and frank, again, we've said we've added to our team. We have one of the top IP lawyers in the country. In terms of like defending the trademark and fan stuff, like, first off, we love the fan stuff. And we've never told anybody not to experiment with ideas in their head in the privacy of their own home, X, Y, and Z. Where we have to draw the line is if someone's mass producing fan sets and selling them for a profit, it's just legally we have to defend the trademark for this to come back.
Sure.
The way that we were able to gain the trademark was someone abandoning it, meaning Flea or Marvel, and not using it, not defending it, and we went through the very arduous 2.5 year process to acquire that trademark. That required, again, a lot of patience, years of work, and basically tens of thousands of dollars to get to the moment we got to, right? And so, like, we love the passion of the community. And we love the idea of people experimenting with ideas in their head about, like, hey, Invincible's not made yet. What would he look like? Great. Like, sketch that out, privately, like, you're going to be okay. But, like, if you pull images of Invincible and a character that you don't own, and you start printing that and saying it's Overpower, then, like, both, Amazon / Skybound / Image, they're probably not going to be happy. And us at BMG, we're not going to be happy. And, like, there's going to be issues there. I think I'll say this and then I'll stop. If you look at Comic Cons and people come in costume, and there's costumes that they made, and it's of characters they clearly don't own, and there's never an issue there because you're not making that for sale. You're making it for fun. It's nothing but goodwill, nothing but free advertising. All IP holders see that. We see that. But if one of those people takes their popular costume and starts to mass produce it and sell it, they will get a cease and desist from that IP holder because they have to. It's just legally. If you don't, then you're letting someone take it. Yeah, I want to say it's either Q-tips or Kleenexes had the trademark for their product. And then other generic companies were calling their tissues either Kleenexes or Q-tips, whichever one it is. And then at some point they went to go sue and they got to court and they lost because they said, you've been letting people call their products your trademark for a long time. You've diluted your own trademark. It doesn't mean anything. So then they lost it. So that's the, like, annoying legal explanation. But the reality is, like, we've all played with customs and they're a lot of fun. I remember finding 10 years ago the Philly Overpower customs that had the kind of like Hulk fighting the Thing background, and like printed out one or two and like, oh, this is a cool idea, right? But they were never mass producing them for sale. Like, they knew better. And certainly, we've seen other efforts that did similar things for fun, never mass produced for sale. So, like, that's not the issue. But, like, if you're openly advertising something that's in the space of Overpower and it's not your characters and not your trademark, and you're mass producing it and selling it, then, like, that just is what it is. We've seen C&Ds come from Marvel around an effort to reprint the Marvels. We've seen C&D come out to somebody who was doing a DC3 reboot and advertising it for sale with a website. He got cease and desisted by DC. And I can tell you, in the meetings we've had with these big IP holders, this has come up. Like, they're aware of us, guys. They're watching. And they ask, like, hey, what's this stuff? Is that you? And we have to say, no, that's not us. And we're working on handling our business on that. And certainly we can appreciate your help in handling your business, right? And it's a delicate balance. Everybody's trying to make sure we love the fans and we don't want any issues with the fans. But, like, everybody has to just understand that there is also the law. And, we're going to do what our lawyers advise us to do on those kind of things. So, like, if you're doing your funzy stuff at home, we don't know about it, like, generally you're good to go. If you're printing for sale and it's wide produced, mass produced, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so will Marvels and Masters of Evil be legal in the future? And
So I think
now
it depends on
see
the
it.
kind of formats. I think it depends on the kind of formats, right? Like I think if you think about there being a legacy format that's possibly run by the NAOL, like that's just fans playing with their cards that they have otherwise acquired or purchased, right? And that's
Okay.
probably not our business. But if we're talking about the combined environment or the modern environment, let me say this: like I'm really excited about the idea of the modern environment in the long term, right? Where we're able to launch with one of the big three IP, and we also have some targeted things that are cool promo sets, and then you might even have some public domain stuff, and you're smashing all that together. And as those sets grow, if we're on a release schedule, let's say 1 to 2 core sets a year and some expansions, and then we're 3 years out. Like the modern format is the format. And for my kids who are 7 and 9, like, do I expect them to go to Orange King and throw $1,000 at a set? I don't know. I think we're looking at the new game and new players also as a key goal here. So
So
the answer is it's complicated, but I think for the legacy community, we're all good. The new community, you're going to have new people who are interested in the old product, and I'm happy about that, right? And that'll be good for the Orange Kings business. That'll be good for Villa Lobos's business, all the people who are vendors, good stuff. But then for where BMG's taking it is also going to be like kids who are in high school are playing the new game and are super into it. And maybe some of them, like Magic, some people want to get into like classic play and spend a crazy amount of money on a White Lotus. Some might do that. There might even be a format where DAO's legal again. Who knows? It might not be my business to even dictate those terms, being
all right.
honest.
So one quick question to follow up on that: if you get rights to Marvel or DC, would that include reprint rights of the older cards?
So there's a couple different things there, and that's complicated. I think I'll first start with, if you look at the original Overpower, I want to say there's 250 plus characters. You know that when I was the commissioner of the community, we did our data analysis. There's only about 35, maybe 40 tournament playable characters that see consistent play, particularly before the Essentials pack and before the new home bases, right? Now that's opened up some more possibilities. So maybe let's even say post our efforts, there's 70 characters who are playable out of 250. I start with that to say, I don't think I necessarily want to recreate the old environment, right? Do we need to reprint the original War Machine? Do we want to reprint like a teammate 9 or less energy avoid? I don't know.
Probably.
So I think there's that part, right? But in terms of the ability to reprint the things that we want to, IP law is complicated. Like you can't copyright or trademark a game mechanic, but you can trademark or copyright like artistic works and branding. So like if you wanted to reprint, what's the 11 NE for Magneto? Is it like Master of Magnetism?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to reprint Master of Magnetism for Magneto 11 NE, I don't know that we can call it Master of Magnetism. Like someone created that term and it's branded. And if it wasn't a term that was directly from Flea or Marvel, they might not have control of that. So you're just asking for a problem that like someone designed that card, someone had the idea, you use that and they're not compensated and they're not at the table in Disney Marvel, you're asking for trouble. So like the long story short is like, again, we have literally one of the best IP, if not the best IP lawyers in the country, who's our lawyer, and we're going to follow her directions on some of those things. And she's not usually in the minutia of these kind of like, will you reprint cards? But this is one where like, would I reprint? Well, not would I. Would we reprint something that started to be printed? That's like a complicated question. But I think the bigger answer goes back to my first part, which is like, to be honest, the game mechanics vibrant and the community is vibrant, but of the current character set, there's only 50 to 70 players, heroes, characters, playable tops. I don't think I want to recreate some of the old stuff. Like some of it was not thought out in terms of having players, heroes, characters be playable, right? Like we can go through the list of people like, not to make it weird, but like I love the black superheroes for obvious reasons. And I've always wanted to do like a Black Panther deck or like a War Machine deck, right? But man, besides Bishop, I mean, like, and Bishop doesn't see a lot of play. I know my brother-in-law Greg played Bishop at OP Cup 2022. So it's not so there's some guys. But my point is just I wouldn't want to reprint Black Panther the way he is. I want to make a better version that's more true to the character, how it feels, and more to its power level, and it's more balanced. I definitely wouldn't want to reprint War Machine the way he was PU. So So we'll follow our lawyer's direction, but we're also looking to make sure we print a game that is like very playable and like collectible from the standpoint of like fun art, foils, holograms, alternate arts, lots of fun chase cards, different styles, but like not something where we print heroes out that we know will never see tournament play. That saddens me.
All right, we're blowing through this hour really quick. We got a lot of questions left.
I'm here as long as you guys want me.
Okay, one of the questions we're getting is about in the chat about battle sites. How are they going to function without codes on the cards?
So I'll say this. I'm not sure that we will in the new game ever do battle sites the exact way that the old game did it. It's something we're still batting it around. I think what's interesting about battle sites is battle sites give you this like wild card mechanic where you use one to get any card that's possible. And then balancing that like against any heroes as one option is a very challenging balance, right? Because you're only trying to balance originally like two basic options, and one's always going to be viewed as better than the other. I think that there's been a premature funeral for any heroes. That any heroes are not as good as they used to be because people are sad they can't cheese and get a free win from Dow anymore. Right. But I think the Strangler who's sitting right next to you already proved that you can just pop that draw 3 in there or whatever cataclysm you pick, and any hero still do the thing. So we are trying to balance those two options in the legacy environment. For the future environment, I'd like to see more mechanics created, whether they're battle site adjacent or any heroes, where you're balancing multiple poles. If you think about Magic the Gathering, they have their 5 major types, right? Right now, I think one of the good things about the Any Hero Essentials pack is that while Any Heroes are still a basic build, there's some flexibility. You don't know exactly what your opponent's using. So the way I lost Miles' head in the OP Cup was that I was playing him, I'd seen all his negates, I saw his Any Hero negate Merlin, and I saw his Any Hero Void and his Shift. And so I had a penance stare, and I bet 5 for the win, thinking there's no way I can lose. And he had the lockout. And I forgot. I'm like, there's no way he's not playing the draw 3 or something. And it's the lockout. And I'm like, oh, I hate myself. But that flexibility brings that unpredictability to any heroes that it didn't have before. We all knew any heroes had like an 8 or 9 card build. And anything you do outside of that, the group thinks like, what are you doing? You don't play, deal with the devil. What are you doing? But now I feel like, okay, you can pick your icon for the major 2 types. Whole community knew we needed that, right? Many have tried through the fan sets. And we knew that you wanted other flexibility. So the cataclysms and the new promos are like, you can really build like a 15 card any hero build that makes sense. And you could build like a very slim 7 card build. And your cataclysm, no one's going to know what it is unless you place it till you play it. And that's a lot of stuff. So sorry, that's a long answer. I'm long-winded. But the key is, I don't know that we'll do battle sites the exact way. And if we do a version of them, we want multiple strategies. So there might be a 3rd or 4th or 5th creation of like, how do you manage your anybody can use it team offense or defense beyond power cards.
What else you got, Phil?
So once you launch and get this game really off the ground, it's you're going to be running so many different tournaments in different areas. Are you guys planning to do like a player rankings? And if so, what does that look like?
Definitely doing player rankings. I think we also want to do something like an ambassador program, something similar to what I believe the Dragon Ball card game was doing, where you want to be able to have people that organize play and like organize their friends, have incentives for doing that, right? So if you can get together X amount of people that are registered to play and they play in a location, then maybe you get a pack, or not pack directly, but you get like, whatever we want to call it. I think maybe like for Magic, they have gems or some kind of currency in their online app to do those things. So there's some ways in which we want to have rewards for players. We definitely want to have like expansive play. We want to have ambassadors who can teach and organize. And we obviously want to have like some sort of like full or part-time compensated judges. Like, I say full or part-time, even the NFL, which is the billion-dollar sporting league in America, right? And, up there with Premier League play worldwide in terms of top sports, their refs aren't full-time. So I think they probably should be. But my point is just there are different ways to skin the cat for tournament management and judging, and also how we want players to come out and play. So I hope that answered it. So too many words. Sorry.
What else you got, Phil?
How does BMG plan to support besides doing just the promo cards or packs? Are you guys gonna run like certain regionals, nationals, bigger events?
So I can say, yeah, so we definitely want to have, obviously different levels of play that allow the casual player to enjoy play all the way to the top competition for big prize support and cash prizes. And not just cash prizes. Like currently, we're a tightly knit play community. You have your buy-in, and then sometimes the pot could get splashed by something else. But most of the time, the money is what people put in. We intend there to be, eventual cash prize support as well as big prizes. And then we also want other cool prizes. Like I love the idea you see for NFL, you got Super Bowl rings and you got, Hall of Fame jackets and everything. So I'd love for us, and we're working on that, to have some swag where you win a tournament and you get a prize and that you can wear. This shows that like, hey, I'm the strangler. Look, I got 6 rings, baby. Like this is 6 Berg or that kind of energy. So like prize support can be, prizes that's gear. It could be points or discounts to future entry. It could be like you get to test and help design. It can be cash prizes. And I love the idea of the swag and the gear for championship stuff. We did have the 3D printed trophies that the community had for a bit for the team event. And I think Garion won one for Boston 2021, or was that 2019? So 3D printed or other trophies, things, or maybe like the wood carved type things, or even like you can get some of those heavy metal like steel things that you can like have cut and engraved. So like prize support can be about bragging rights. It can be about cash prizes. It can be about product in terms of cards. It can be about like cases. Like we do want to have a product line that's reversed. Right now I'm wearing your guys' t-shirt just come on your podcast. That's what's up. But we do plan to have also our own t-shirts with our logo and all the gear and swag that people could want that gets given away that you can buy. But championship stuff, cash prizes, product, discounts, ability to participate in early, the kind of beta testing, all those things you could think of is all that is going to be part of a suite of support.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool how you had the Thanos glove for the 2019 champion or whatever. That was fun to chase for that.
Yeah.
We got a question here from Marcel. He's dropping the hammer. I was kind of holding this one back a little. What's the actual timeline for cards on the table? When will we see a set? 6 months? 5 years?
Okay, not 5 years. Okay, come on, guys. If it's 5 years, we have failed. Not 5 years. Not years. Or if I say years, we're talking, sometime in, Q3, Q4, 2024, latest, early 2025 for the big set. That'll be the latest. And that's not something I'm not saying, don't get disappointed. I'm saying like that's the deadline. Because if you don't do that, then obviously it's not going anywhere. And we're in these talks. And this is not imaginary. It's always challenging when you talk about these things that are like bananas, right? Like I came from a world where I was an executive for city government and I was on local media doing that kind of stuff. And I was involved in a lot of situations, emergencies that are like absolutely bananas. I tell you stories that don't sound real. So when we say things to people online about like, we're in conversations, we're in negotiations, it sounds like, yep. It's not real. It's real. Now, getting a deal done is difficult. It's the patience has been the problem for the people who've tried before us. It's like, you can't just bust into Marvel's office and say like, give me Overpower back. That's not, it's deals. There's like, how much profit sharing, what's the terms of control. There's a lot that goes into this. That's why we have to have a good team president with a business background and a great IP lawyer, and then like coders, and it's just, we've had to evolve. So I'd say that I think there's a chance that we have, like promo product on the shelves very quickly that tests new ideas and mechanics. So like it might be that we have a license, locked up and that we can announce in the next 3 months, 6 months, but that's going to hit shelves late 2024. But then we're like, in the meantime, here's also this product. So there's a lot of different ways. It depends on the deals that get cracked. And I don't like feeling like a suit. I'm wearing a jacket and then your shirt. I'm trying to balance my various parts of my personality. But I feel like we are behaving as like a business that's run by a bunch of passionate fans who understand the product. but also understand that like you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And then the things we don't know, we have people in the circle for that, right? Like we're not going to tell our lawyer what to do and what not to do about like fan sex. She's going to advise us, and then we're going to follow directions because she's the best lawyer there is. And we're not going to tell our team president about like what the timetable is going to be for the release, because like if the reality is that Cardamundi, one of the biggest printers out there, is like, this is the timetable for how we can serve you, and then we have to choose between that and a lesser printer on an accelerated timeline, he's going to tee up the decision for us. Here's your pros and your cons, and then we're going to have to like compute that and make the best decision for the community. So that's such an annoyingly complicated answer, but the answer is like it's not. We're not talking 2028 and we're still talking about conversations, right? Like no, we're talking, you know, ideally an announcement soon about like what it is, the future, like a schedule. Like think about the way Marvel does it. Marvel gives you a schedule. What's phase 6? What are you gonna get excited about? It's bam, 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 bam. And then the schedule can change. They'll change it on you. Let's be clear. They might say Daredevil's gonna be 18 episodes, Q3 of this, and then they say actually it's 15 episodes Q4. And you just gotta be like, oh, okay. But my point is, you know, my goal is a schedule release as soon as possible. And the schedule is going to be a realistic like schedule, right? Not like us telling you it's going to be something that it can't be. And also not something that's we're full of it and it's imaginary. It's going to be the truth. It's going to be the truth of how you can reasonably scale up a product like this and commit to distribution in North America and internationally.
What you got, Bill?
Any idea when the uncut sheet for the prize support for the tournament winners?
Oh, we're going to have those out hopefully for pickup at Boston. And if not, we'll be mailing it to you. They're ordered. And, you know, it's just we went, I don't want to say there's challenges, but there's some challenges. Like you talk to a company about how to print the thing, and then you work out the logistics, right? And we're doing that as we're balancing the business stuff. So like, appreciate everybody's patience. Thanks for bearing with us. The answer is yes. And I am like super excited about these next round of promos, y'all. And I can't, no spoilers, but like super excited. Like things that everybody's going to be, let me say this, sorry, tangent. The response to the promos, thank you everybody, like just a great response. Like if you go to Orange King right now, we're sold out of them all besides 3. There's the Dig, the Select the Slain, that's like a, you know, a less powerful but good any hero with great power. There's like 14 of those left or something right now. There's 1 training left. That's almost gone. If you're seeing this and you don't got your training, go get it, right? That's gone. There's I think just 45 left of the +5 adventure. And that's like, we just put that out, what, a few weeks ago at Valhalla, and it's half gone. So like the response has been enormous to those. I appreciate the love and support, everybody. Orange King has been a great partner for us in this early phases of us. And so I'm sure he appreciates the support, and I'm excited for those as well. So like, you know, we're rocking and rolling, like we're putting cards out. That is the game. I'll say this. The genesis of this whole project was not a business. It was to figure out whether the game that we loved was dead or alive officially. And if it has a pulse, if we can resurrect this in any way, Affinity Gauntlet or otherwise, right? Maybe let's go. Let's figure out how so we can get more cards, because a collectible card game without new cards will die. It's a miracle that Overpower stayed alive as long as it has. And I think the Marvels is a fan set that was quasi-canon. That was like some defibrillators, like, oh, new stuff. Sadly, like, if you think about it, only the Doctor Strange 6 or less, Sable 9 or less, and a few other cards from that were playable, right? And then you had a fan set like Masters of Evil, it's another like clunk. Hey, some new ideas. But sadly, like a lot of that was check swinged. And maybe like 5 to 10 cards out of that are playable. So the new sets will not be that in terms of full control of the product. We have a great idea on how to balance the game. Everything's going to be playable and fun. And new cards as soon as possible, definitely.
Looks like Joe in the chat says he's got them ordered.
Yeah.
Oh, and Zach wants an Any Power Teamwork promo, and Joe says for him to be quiet.
Hey,
All right.
maybe it's that, maybe it's not. I don't know.
That's it?
I think so.
That's everything you had?
Yeah.
All right. Wow. We might wrap it up in about an hour. Are you planning to refurbish in the existing character specials? I think you kind of covered that.
Yeah, it did. I'll say this: like the original game is the inspiration for everything the new game will be, right? So like you always had to pay tribute to the old game, right? Like I said before, there's a lot of stuff that I'd love to reprint and concepts that we can borrow from, right? But there's also a lot of like new things that we could come up with. Like if you think about Iron Man, current design's kind of cool. I like Iron Man, and I know that like the Strangler over there does really well with Iron Man. So I'm not talking trash. But I mean, if you think about all the different mark suits that Iron Man had and the bleeding edge armor, and now you could have a character card and a suite of specials that could make him evolve. Like there's a lot more space in the game where you don't have to make the game a dice game. You don't have to have tokens. We don't got to become Magic to like unlock a deeper potential for how strategically diverse Overpower can be. So the answer, sorry, long answer, but the answer is yeah, we might reprint some things if we can, but that's a legal question, and also it's a like, is the first design good question?
All right, Brett's got one here. Sorry, Brett, I missed this one somehow. Are you going to create some kind of character development framework or rule set to ensure that all published characters are usable or to prevent overpowered characters?
Yes. So I think everybody who was a part of the tournament community knows that when we did the community of fan set, I did like a very detailed statistical analysis or model of like the current game and what makes a playable character. And we scored the various attributes, the grids, we had scoring for specials, for inherents, and then a model, and then we had to tweak the scoring. And you get that model to align with like what are we seeing from tournament play. And that's how we know that one, there's only like 35 to 50 characters that were playable before any hero pack, and the new home bases now might be 70. My point of this is to the model. And we have there's an average. Like the average, it was about 17 points. What does 17 points mean? You have to see the model. But like the best characters are like 25 to 30 points, and those are the ones that are like eventually might be retired through a retirement program. I don't know what that's going to look like, but we're going to put them in a nice old folks home eventually, right? But it's like 17 in this ranking system was like the median, and like this is the minimum for you not to be a detriment to your team. And so no, we're never going to print somebody that like on that kind of scale. We're using that similar scale with some tweaks. We're not going to print characters who are like 5 points or 10 points and say like collect some jank. No, because like I love all the characters. Like, it frustrates me that War Machine is so bad. Like, why does he have a teammate avoid energy attack of 9 or less? Make that make sense for me. Or like Punisher, why does he have a teammate avoid energy attack? Like, could you make a worse card? You can actually. Oh my God, there's so many bad cards. So my point of all that is no, we're never going to print pieces of paper just for people to collect. Number one rule of our mission. 2, we are never going to intentionally print characters who are below average and that won't see play. That's silly. We want to have characters who have unique abilities that reflect the canon skill sets they've shown in their IP, whether it's anime, whether it's like Macross robots, whether we ever got to like a Power Ranger type thing, all the different things you could have that energy, fighting, strength, intellect. We want to have their special card set like reflect who they are and then be leverageable. We're like, hey, you could pair Goku with, Starscream from Transformers, and their cards do an interaction like, oh, and now Starscream's really good. Like, that's fun to me. That kind of stuff. Like when someone shows up, I think it was Ty, showed up to OP Cup with a leader deck. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Why is he doing leader? And then I saw the trick and I'm like, oh, he's doing some stuff. Like, this is a good trick. Like, no one's seen that before. Now, you try those things and you got to perfect them.
Here's a couple more. Ricky wants, or no, I'm sorry, Howard wants a BMG version of the Beyonder. Public domain character would be fine. Joe wants to know your prediction for Boston, who's going to win.
Okay.
And, that's all I got in there right now.
Okay. Well, first, let's start Beyonder. I'll say this. One thing that's fun about having 4 quasi-active players in BMG and a diverse viewpoint is that everybody has different ways like the game works in their head and different opinions. So we're not a monolith. And so like Joe could tell you right now, like the training home base was like my idea. That's my pet project. And it was like
moving through Congress. Like they didn't like it. They hated it. I don't know if this is going to be good. And now it's like, ooh, there's some spice in there, you know? So my point with the Beyonder deck is like, I'm not a Beyonder guy, just being honest. But other people are, you know, like, what's his name? Sean, what's his moniker? Sean, what? No, but what's his NAO Legends? He's not the Strangler. He's got some nickname because he's a champion. I'm never a champion. I'm a bridesmaid. John Sawyer, but what's his nickname on the NAL site?
Oh, the Hangman.
The Hangman Sawyer. So I can't talk trash to Beyonder because Hangman Sawyer, it wins with Beyonder. People do Beyonder decks. Beyonder is like a thing that people love. So I'm definitely not against the idea of it. Like I conceptually understand it's not for me. And I'm sure if we have that debate, we'll have a very passionate debate about a reprinting of Beyonder. I do think, my opinion, not speaking for the four, speaking for me, I don't know that we'll ever do quite an exact Beyonder mechanic in the modern game because, but one, I don't know if we'll ever do kill cheese the exact way it's done either. One thing we're dedicated to is like a very positive user experience for new players. Because when you have a new player and they make the investment and they come and something bad happens, you can lose them like that. We had a person who came to one of Ed's last tournaments in Buffalo and had a great time. We had beers, had food, everything was great. But he had a battle site and he just got dowed incessantly. Just like dow, leech, no activators, dow, leech. And he's done. That was it. We lost him. And we're working on him. Like, hey, it's not that anymore. We got the essentials pack. We got rid of that thing. But it's just tough. And Beyonder type kill cheese stuff, like my personal opinion, speaking for myself, is like that can result in like challenging user experiences for new players. Like you sit down, you build a deck, someone plays a card you can't defend and says like, your hero's dead. And mine is dead, but it doesn't affect me. Aha. Like a Coming to America. Aha. And it's like, I don't know. So differing opinions. I'm not against any kind of reprint, but
here's a couple quick ones. There's a couple votes in the chat for public domain sets.
Hey, that'd be fun. I could be down for that. You can convince me.
Okay, and then will cards be released in starters and boosters, or will you be able to buy full sets without the randomness and hoping for the best?
It's going to be a combination of both, in my opinion. So we talked about this at our last meeting. We had a 4-day summit. All the guys, including our team president, so it was 5 of us, and other people available by remote. And I think what's cool about the space, going back to question number 1 of this whole interview, like why now? I don't think we have to be beholden to only one model of like CCG versus LCG. Meaning, I foresee a realm where we have starter decks all the time for different things, right?
Right.
And you could have like a limited promo set where you get 2 different starter decks that represent 2 different teams in IP, and then some packs with that might flesh out a few more characters. And you could have like different ways you could buy that all as one set that gives you a complete set, or you could say, I'm a new player, let me just try one starter deck and I have less money, and that's fine. And I was digging in the couch for quarters to buy my Overpower straight up. So we have that model, and then we can have packs that'll have rarity of art and things, but we would have a draftable format. So unlike the old game, I want to open a pack and I get a Robin and like 5 or 6 Robin specials and some power cards that make sense. And that makes the game draftable. And it gives the kid who's opening a pack to me a better opening experience than frankly we had in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like you could just get some packs that are just like, just sad, just sorry. Like you're just not happy about it. You get a pack and you're like, I dug for 8 quarters to get this pack with 2 basics and a training. Jeez. So, we don't want it to be fully random. We want it to be draftable. We want to be flexible given the IP. So like core releases, you're going to imagine have boxes of boosters, but the boosters are different than the old boosters. And there's starter decks. And we could have promo ones that are like, hey, for this IP, because some IPs also, let's be honest, some IPs can't support a 40 character set. It's not that deep. If I go into Thundercats lore, how many starter decks could you have for Thundercats? You got the Thundercats, there's maybe 6 or 8 of them. You got Mum-Ra, some minions, and some other stuff that people might know but don't care about. So that might be 2 to 3 different starter decks and some boosters, tops, and a pin. And it might be like more LCG based. But if you get to Marvel, the roster's deep. You know, you get to like even Invincible. Like I don't know all the characters. If you watch the show, like they got a lot of characters, so you can get into that lore. And certainly, if you get like Invincible's just a part of Skybound, if you get deeper into Skybound, you get like Walking Dead, you get all sorts of cool stuff that could fit. So it's flexible. Sorry, I talk too much, y'all, but
It's all right. Here's a
flexible.
follow up on the public domain. Any chance of a public domain set if you can't get a major IP soon?
Definitely. I mean, I'll say this: like, someone brought up Conan before this, and I believe Conan's in the public domain. Like, if you look at the public domain roster, it's deep. Like,
Yeah.
and public domain characters, because they're public domain, can make appearances like in Marvel. Like, Marvel has their Dracula, but they don't own the Dracula. Like, Dracula as a concept is out there, or Cthulhu is a concept that he appears in all the games. So, like, I love the idea of public domain. Certainly, like from a business perspective, we would commission art, and then we'd actually like own those representations of the public domain. So there's a lot of good use to that. But we also know the heart and genesis of the game was also superheroes.
Right.
So like it's last thing I'll say, too many words. Overpower was one of the first games that really cracked the multiverse. Like when they came out with DC and you could have Superman versus, like whoever you want, it's like, oh, this is big. And then they had Image. The logical conclusion of this would have been to me, if they didn't do the bankruptcy and fumble this, was more IPs. Just mix it up, man. Like, give me all the IPs. Like, if it was still alive, not managed by us, it was managed by Marvel, I'd imagine they'd work with Skybound to do an Invincible set. Like, why not? You want to play those. So putting the public domain in, I love it. But I also think our goal is still like a big swing, because like that's the heart and soul of it. It's also still like Marvel, DC, Image, Dynamite, Skybound, like the big players, all that. And then and I'm an anime fan too, so like all the One Punch. I have the old ones. Like I'd love to do Trigun, Evangelion. Like I love anime too. So like I love public domain. Let's do it.
Continuing on with your game, you plan on having the events?
Yeah, I think events are definitely a
Events into the
core
decks?
part. I think events are definitely a core part of Overpower, and we're not taking that out. I do think we'll probably reduce the oppressiveness or cheesiness of some of them. I think the most balanced ones that are powerful are the ones that say affected things aren't discarded. Because when you have to discard it, you give the opponent perfect information.
Right.
So we've all been there with a battle site, no activators hits. You had to pitch your 5 activators, and then instantly it's like bet 7. And you're like, and again, user experiences for new players, you're like, God, like what? I didn't even get to defend that. So like, undefendable events, yes. I love the idea of like world events that change the world and
Right.
change the game.
Now, Marcel,
But you got to balance it.
You're going to go out on a limb and predict the winner at Boston or not. Are you going to do it?
Ooh, man. Well, first off, we don't know. We know we have a big field, everybody. Thank you for the support.
Yep.
We're looking at 30 plus have already committed, with more hopefully to come. We might break 40. So it depends on who plays, man. I mean, when you got the Strangler in there, you got the Goat, you got again, the Hangman. You got a lot of good players in there. You got the Bridesmaid. I'm going to start calling myself the Bridesmaid's going to be in there. I'm going to be second or third. I don't know who's going to come in.
Right.
I would love to think I'm going to win my first, honestly. I'm going to try
there
to
we
not
go.
call my shot, but like, I don't know if I'm going to do my teammate avoid deck or if someone's going to pay the mold toll or what's going to happen. But like, y'all better watch out. So watch out for this guy to sadly make second place again. And then the winner will be
Whoever beats you.
whoever beats me, right? It's going to be
All right.
whoever gets to that matchup and I choke.
All right, guys. Next week we have another big special guest. It's going to be Theo, who is one of the brothers who created this game.
Hey.
So I'm
Hey,
super
that's awesome.
stoked for that interview. I hope you guys all tune in for that.
Real quick. I forgot to announce the Friday format for the tournament. So for our Friday tournament is going to be a max 7 event, no Beyonder, but no point cap. So bring and no restriction on any heroes or sites. So it's going to be no 8 rankers, no Beyonder, everything else goes, baby. So whatever crazy deck you want to do, Cable, 4, and somebody and be 18 points over deck building, you can have at it, man. It's going to be a fun event. So I forgot to say that. I was told to say that, and I have too many words. But look out for that. We'll make an official announcement in the Facebook group and the page. Hopefully by tomorrow. We just have our graphic designer working it up.
All right, and Doug Taylor keeps asking. I'm sorry, Doug. I did see that earlier. What do you want from the fans to help support BMG while we wait for this new set?
Well, first off, thank everybody for the support as it is. It's a fantastic community. So like we can't ask for more. And like all the stuff that we've talked about, we know everybody has a lot of positivity and love for the game. Even the little like tiny conflicts that we have with like the fan set stuff and what's okay. We know it all comes from a place like everybody loves the game. We love it. So support would be support the Orange King, come out to tournaments, be ready to test some things when we get them ready for you guys. And when the moment comes that we announce and we have that initial opening, whether it's like a Kickstarter or Orange King or direct to consumer or a big swing and you're getting it straight from Marvel, whatever it is, of course, like support for the product is the most important thing. But keep up the social media support. Tell your friends who used to play. Get people to come out. Like coming out is the most important thing because, when we get in these meetings, like they care.
Yeah.
These IP holders, they care about their characters. They care about the community. They care about what this is going to look like. They care about their pockets. But like, hey, like Marvel has more money than they know what to do with. Disney's a behemoth. Like them working with us ideally is like still like just good press for the characters, but they're not pressed about it, right? It's just so I think keep being good people, like Hulk Hogan, like eat your vitamins, say your prayers, whatever, do the good things. Like, just be good people and show up and let's have fun, man. Boston's gonna be great. Show up to Boston. Let's do that. Let's go.
And bug your local game stores about it. Say, hey, be watching
Yes.
out for this. All right, guys. Dave, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great. And
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And next week, guys, all tune in. We're going to talk about how this game was created, why it was created. We can't have both brothers because one's in Florida and one's in California. We couldn't make the time zone work, but maybe we can get Mike on some other time. We're going to have Theo a week from tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you guys will all tune in again. Hit it up in the live chat just like you did tonight. Theo would love to see that. And make sure you follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Join that Overpower Facebook group page. That's where everything goes down. And let's hope Phil shows up for Boston.
Let's support the Overpower card game.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you all